Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to invite Janelle Tinley to the mic, please. All right, we're going to skip that part of the program. And we're going to invite Mr. Miller up for a recognition of our track coach, Jeff Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's my honor to invite up Coach Jeff Cagle, head coach of our girls track and field team at Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. The National Federation of High Schools, in conjunction with the New Jersey State Coaches Association, annually selects a Coach of the Year for every sport that we have. Due to the athletic success of our girls track team led by Coach Jeff Cagle, he was selected as the 2022 Outdoor Girls Track and Field Coach of the Year for the state of New Jersey. Jeff was unable to attend the banquet because he was too busy doing his other job, which is also coaching our indoor track team. The indoor track program has to work out at the Bennett Center down in Toms River, and the schedules just didn't link up. And all Jeff did was lead a team to set another school record in our sprint medley. We couldn't be more proud of the work Jeff has done, and we look forward to great success throughout the years. Thank you, Jeff.
I'd like to now invite Dr. Mast up for recognition of the 2022-2023 Governor Educator of the Year Awards and the New Jersey Exemplary Educators Awards.
So I certainly know one of our favorite things to do is to celebrate our educators. This is one of our favorite nights to really recognize all of the hard work that happens in our classrooms, in our schools every day. And we are going to speak specifically about each of these educators by those who work very closely with them. So I am going to invite up Dr. Scott Bortnick.
Thank you, Dr. Mast. Thank you, Board of Ed. Welcome, everybody. Congratulations to all of our award recipients. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Samantha Strulowitz, who I think is in the back, to come join me up by the podium. An enthusiastic crew for Mrs. Strulowitz. I am really so happy to have the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mrs. Strulowitz. I've had the great privilege of watching Mrs. Strulowitz do amazing work with our youngest learners for the last 13 years. Mrs. Strulowitz works with children that have receptive and or expressive.
I'm so sorry.
Speaking of expressive, thank you. Expressive language challenges, behavioral challenges, challenges with involved medical conditions, and she really engages all the children with love, enthusiasm, and patience, the likes of which would humble any and all of us. Not only is Mrs. Strulowitz loved by her students, but also obviously by her colleagues, certainly her principal, and without a doubt, the parents of the students with whom she works. The families learn so much thanks to Mrs. Strulowitz's open communication, astute data collection and analysis, and care. It's for these reasons and so many more that I wish I had hours to talk to you about Samantha, that she is our Governor's Educator of the Year for Brunner School. Congratulations, Samantha. Okay, now you have to stay up there. I'd now like to call up Mrs. Tara Tenza. Wherever you feel good. If you are not aware, there has been a battle that has been waged for a number of years about the best ways to approach reading instruction. Tonight, I have the honor to share that the battle is over. The best approach to reading instruction is Mrs. Tenza. Mrs. Tenza is a gifted, insightful, analytical reading recovery instructor. Could you imagine how incredible it must feel to have a 6-year-old look up at you and say, "I can read"? And that's something that Mrs. Tenza gets on a regular basis, which is just beautiful and amazing. Thanks to these efforts, that statement of children learning to read at Brunner is something that's shared far and wide. Mrs. Tenza is incredibly, incredibly positive, committed to her students and colleagues, and an incredible resource to the parents of the children with which she works on reading with. Her lessons are fun, engaging, and just ooze with positivity and the belief in all students' abilities. For these reasons and countless more, Mrs. Tenza is our Brunner School's Governor Educator Support Personnel of the Year. Congratulations. All right. Brunner also has an award recipient for the governor's, for the Exemplary Educator of the Year, and I'd like to call Mrs. Samantha Melworm up to join me now. So in addition to the Governor's Educator of the Year awards, the Department of Ed also has an Exemplary Educator of the Year award. And the Exemplary Educator Award goes to educators who exhibit strong knowledge and skills, an inspiring presence, and a positive impact on students, colleagues, and the school community. Mrs. Melworm is all of these things and so much more. When schools closed due to the global pandemic, Mrs. Melworm's already exemplary work became even more extraordinary. Mrs. Melworm became a Google certified educator, as well as an Apple teacher, and one of the district's tech coaches. Mrs. Melworm created engaging and interactive lessons for her students and many others beyond her classroom as she shared that work with her colleagues both at Brunner and around the district. In her own classroom, Mrs. Melworm is an exemplary math and science teacher. She may not feel this way, but I think she's equally exemplary in language arts and social studies. When presenters are needed for professional development in the district, administrators always seek out Mrs. Melworm for her thoughtfulness, her planning, and her implementation of engaging high-quality professional learning. She really is exemplary, and I'm so happy and honored to recognize Mrs. Melworm as one of Scotch Plains and Fanwood's exemplary educators. And now, for once, I brought the directions with me so I won't mess it up. I would like to introduce Ms. Sandy Fetty, who is our wonderful principal at Coles School.
Thank you, Dr. Bording. I'd like to call up Ms. Jennifer Liang. I know Brunner teachers set that bar really high on how loud they were going to cheer, so I'm glad that Cole's represented as well. It is my pleasure to speak about our Governor's Educator of the Year, Ms. Jennifer Liang, third grade teacher at Coles. Ms. Liang makes learning fun, and she brings out the best in each of her students. When I announced from the office that Ms. Liang won the Educator of the Year award, her students screamed so loudly I could hear them in the office, around the corner, down the hall. So you know they were excited. And when Dr. Mass and representatives from the district visited her classroom to recognize her for the award, one student exclaimed, "It's about time." The expression, "out of the mouth of babes lies the truth," couldn't be more appropriate. Her students love her and are so proud of her. This year, our third grade team had 2 replacement teachers. Ms. Liang had stepped up as a leader to support these teachers, taking her own time to offer suggestions and resources. I personally have relied on Ms. Liang for her technological expertise. Apple AirPlay got me a little confused, and I know others did too. Ms. Liang has a calm, quiet demeanor and is always seen with a smile and a kind word. She's a lifelong learner who continues to take classes so she can learn and grow in her craft. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Liang. And now I'd like to call up up Mr. Javier Rodriguez, our Governor's Education Support Person of the Year. I have the honor of speaking about Mr. Javier Rodriguez, Cole's Education Professional of the Year. Mr. Rodriguez works as an instructional aide in several of our classrooms. Amazingly, while he has worked in the district first as a substitute teacher, this is Mr. Rodriguez's first year at Coles. Mr. Rodriguez's attitude can be distilled into 4 words: how can I help? He notices things throughout the school and not only brings them to my attention, but offers solutions. Mr. Rodriguez is as effective building connections with our kindergarten students as he is with our 4th graders. This is not an easy thing to do. Mr. Rodriguez has a quiet demeanor that students are drawn towards. In his nominating form, a teacher stated the following about Mr. Rodriguez: he intuitively knows which students to look out for and assist. He also thinks about how best to assist each student, either by questioning, refocusing, scribing, etc. He is an excellent asset to our classroom. I am proud to work alongside Mr. Rodriguez. Please join me in congratulating him. And now I'm going to hand the microphone back to Dr. Bortnick, who will be representing Evergreen.
Hello again. Mrs. Molman couldn't be here with us tonight, and she emailed the principals and shared that she was upset that she couldn't be here and asked if any of us would be willing to speak on behalf of her staff members. And before any of my colleagues could respond, I said I will, because I hired Jamie Sosha in her first position at Brunner. And then her mom, who also works at Brunner, reminded me that when Jamie was tenured, I was the person who spoke on behalf of Colleen, because Colleen wasn't available at that time. So it just seems kind of fitting that I'd be here to sing Jamie's praises again. So I'd like to call up the Teacher of the Year for Evergreen School, Mrs. Jamie Sosha. Mrs. Sosha, who's an exceptional teacher who started at Brunner School, in case I didn't say that already. She's an exceptional 3rd grade teacher whose professionalism and dedication to her students has made a significant impact on Evergreen School. Mrs. Sosha teaches the 3rd grade in-class support class, where she fosters a positive, encouraging, and supportive learning environment. She values students' overall well-being and recognizes the importance of students' social and emotional health in their learning experiences. Mrs. Sosha communicates frequently and effectively with students' families as she keeps them informed about classroom instruction and activities through her newsletters and shared photo albums, in which she also celebrates students' interests and accomplishments both in and out of the classroom. In addition to supporting students' social and emotional needs, Mrs. Sosha is also a skilled educator. She works collaboratively with her co-teachers and instructional aide to plan and implement lessons that engage students in important learning, that often have opportunities for student choice and autonomy, and are differentiated to meet the needs of students in her classroom. That is a lot of work. Mrs. Sosha is also a respected member of our staff. She is a kind, supportive colleague. She mentors aspiring new teachers, and she organizes events to unite the school community, such as last year's BEE, spelled B-E-E, True to You Assembly. Mrs. Sosha is so deserving the honor of being named this year's Educator of the Year for Evergreen School. I almost said Brunner. We are all grateful to have her as a valued member of our school community. Congratulations on this exciting and special recognition. All right. Now I have the honor to speak to Evergreen's Educational Service Professional of the Year, Mrs. Carrie Mullaney. Mrs. Mullaney is an instructional aide who supports one of Evergreen's kindergarten classes. That is hard work. She is an integral part of the Evergreen community, supporting the youngest learners, as well as collaborating and working in partnerships with teachers, educational support staff, and educational specialists. Mrs. Mullaney has always gone above and beyond for her students that she works with. She is someone who makes each child feel valued and celebrates individual student achievements no matter how big or small. Mrs. Mullaney knows how important it is to support students both in their academic needs as well as their social and emotional needs. She is patient and kind, even when faced with challenging behaviors and situations. That is hard work. When working with other staff members, Mrs. Mullaney is always quick to collaborate and support other professionals. Without hesitation, she lends a helping hand and volunteers wherever needed. Mrs. Mullaney maintains positive relationships with other staff members, not only to enhance staff morale, but also to support students. She is always learning, always open to trying new strategies to help all the students she works with. Our school has been made better by Mrs. Mullaney's presence, and we are so lucky to have her. Congratulations on being named Evergreen's Educational Services Professional of the Year. Congratulations. I did it once. I knew I wasn't going to do it twice. Okay. So I would like to introduce my good friend and colleague, Dr. Sasha Slocum, principal at McGinn School.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome. What a great night this is to celebrate our greatest educators. I'd like to welcome McGinn's 2022 Governor Educator of the Year to the podium, Mrs. Amanda Russo-Marchica. Yay. Yay. Caring, determined, inclusive. These are the first words of one of Mrs. Amanda Marchica's nominations for Governor's Educator of the Year this year. As our district motto inspires, Mrs. Marchica has been welcoming classes and their families for years with the invitation and mantra, be you, be here, belong. Mrs. Marchica is a third grade teacher, a co-teacher, a teacher leader, a mentor teacher, a yoga instructor, and a professor at Kane University. She epitomizes a lifelong learner as well as a mentor leader. Mrs. Marchica challenges her students with rigorous content presented in a culturally responsive and interesting way that requires them to mull over it, comment, and incorporate their thinking into deep discussions. From glow parties to thoughtful Thursdays, Mrs. Marchica deftly employs technology with interactive and humorous slides her students contribute to and create. As a pioneer in our school of incorporating socio-emotional self-awareness fundamentally into the school day, Mrs. Marchica for years has developed flexible seating and spaces, a calming corner, books on how to help your amygdala relax so you don't flip your lid, and lessons on maintaining a growth mindset. Her philosophy and practice is how she, her co-teachers, and her staff support people have met the needs of every student in their classes. As a parent and teacher leader, SPF is attaining its mission with Mrs. Marchica serving our students. Congratulations to McGinn's Governor's Educator. Now I'd like to invite McGinn's Educational Services Professional of the 2022-23 school year, Mrs. Sandra Rio. Mrs. Sandy Rio makes a difference in students' lives every day. She's a kind, caring, skilled classroom paraprofessional who has chosen to develop her skills outside of school as a behavior therapy specialist in order to better serve her students at school. Mrs. Rio connects with students individually and helps them understand challenges as things they can overcome. She cares for every student as if they are her own. Mrs. Rio took it upon herself to start a lunch bunch for students who tend to have challenges socially. She researched and found picture books about children's decision-making, which helped them interact with a focus on real-world situations. Colleagues also learned from Mrs. Rio. She shares her behavioral skills with her coworkers and joined with another coworker to write an extensive guide for all support staff so everyone would feel they understand how to work with students in a variety of situations and settings. When asked what is so special about Mrs. Rio, a student she works with blurted out immediately, "Everything!" We are proud to recognize Mrs. Rio this evening as McGinn's Educational Services Professional of the Year. We have the honor tonight, too, of recognizing another New Jersey Exemplary Educator of the Year. We're so proud at McGinn to welcome Mrs. Kristen Cicchini to the podium for the district. Mrs. Kristen Cicchini is an outstanding educator, kindergarten teacher, teacher leader, and administrative intern with boundless energy and creativity. She speaks and moves with enthusiasm about her job, leads by example for all of her colleagues, and genuinely exudes positivity that indicates to every student she knows they can succeed. As an instructional leader in kindergarten, Mrs. Cicchini has developed a student-centered physical classroom that reflects a print-rich environment filled with items at child level that come from the real world, including their own ideas. Mrs. Cicchini is dual certified in special education and general education and has served our youngest learners with IEPs since she has been at McGinn. She was our 18-19 New Jersey Governor's Educator of the Year and mentored several student teachers and interns before she was even a tenured teacher. She and her colleague, Mrs. Marchica, have welcomed visiting classes of students from Kean University to observe and participate in her daily classroom routines and activities. Mrs. Cicchini is a district tech coach who manages McGinn's Instagram page, you can follow us if you haven't done that, and does not give up on any student. It is an honor to congratulate Mrs. Cicchini as the 2022 New Jersey Exemplary Educator of the Year. And now I'd like to welcome School 1 Principal and my buddy, Mr. Justin Fiore, to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Slocum. It is my pleasure to speak on behalf of not only two amazing educators, but most importantly, two unbelievable people who we have recognized as the Governor Educator of the Year of School 1. I'd like to ask Ms. Ellen Young to please come forward. Ms. Young is simply an amazing teacher and by far one of the most outstanding educators I have ever come in contact with. Her knowledge and understanding of instruction is phenomenal. She is someone who is constantly looking for ways to improve her instruction. She's a member of several professional organizations and consistently takes the information that she learns from these organizations and brings it back to share with both administration and with teaching colleagues. She is deeply dedicated and committed to her craft and wants to find ways that she can learn and grow as an educator. When in the classroom, Ms. Young is someone who is not afraid to tackle the challenging topic. She is constantly open to having difficult and heavy conversations with her students. Students feel heard and understood in her room. They are given a space where they feel they can open and be honest. Students love and care for their teacher because they are given the same love and respect from Ms. Young. Every year, her former students wait daily at the dismissal door to give her a hello and a hug. And this is saying something because they're all in middle school. Along with all the wonderful things that are happening in the classroom, Ms. Young is the true advocate for professional growth and development amongst her colleagues, not only in our building, but throughout the district. Ms. Young leads a number of professional development workshops for her colleagues, specifically in the area of language arts, which is a true strength in her teaching. She works closely with her grade level partners and her colleagues in looking for ways to constantly improve instruction. She puts forth great effort each and every day and is a natural coach. She's become a true resource to her colleagues. Ms. Young, I thank you for all that you do and congratulate you on being recognized as School 1 Teacher of the Year. I would now like to ask Ms. Stacy Rayner to please come forward. If I have learned anything in my career as an administrator, it is that you surround yourself with good people and good things will happen. And that is exactly what has happened with Ms. Rayner. At School 1, Ms. Rayner holds the position of Learning Disabilities Teacher Consultant. Ms. Rayner gets the opportunity to have an impact on the lives of so many of our students, both students with IEPs and students without. She works so closely with many of our teachers that the suggestions and ideas that she shares impacts all of the students in the classroom. Her presence in our building has made an unbelievable impact on everyone she comes in contact with. Ms. Rayner is also tasked with speaking with parents regarding struggles that their child is having. She handles each of these conversations with such grace and care, always providing a space for parents to ask questions and share concerns. She recognizes that these conversations may sometimes be challenging and confusing for parents, and she's always able to provide them a resource of someone who is there to help and assist at all times. She constantly does more than what is asked of her. She routinely goes above and beyond to support teachers and students. Each and every morning, you'll find Ms. Rayner greeting her students at the front door with a huge smile on her face in hopes of providing students with some sunshine to start their day. She has a significant presence with our students, and her caring, loving demeanor has helped students a great deal as they begin their day. Ms. Rayner has been a true gift to our staff and students. She's an absolutely wonderful nominee for the Educational Service Professional of the Year for School 1, and I couldn't be more happy for her. Congratulations. And now I would like to call up Dr. Robert McGarry.
So if you're like me, it's this moment where you might want to give your face a little massage, because I've been smiling for, 20 minutes, a half hour? And I am expecting a loud response because this person works in 4 of our schools. So I'd like to call up Jordan Gribben. Jordan, like our others, are being recognized tonight as an exemplary elementary educator. And it's really a privilege, and it was a really privilege to work with administrators from across the district to recommend her for this recognition to the Department of Education. Our administrators were quick to identify her as someone extremely worthy of this honor. Ms. Gribben is celebrating her 10th year in SPF, having previously won the Governor's Educator of the Year award, right? She's taught kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 5th grade, and has since 2020 served our district as our Title I literacy coach. In this role, she supports the students, staff, and families at Brunner, Evergreen, School 1, and Nettingham Middle School. To say that Ms. Gribben has a deep understanding of effective literacy instruction would be quite an understatement. She is both a master and a champion of it. She plays an integral role in planning and facilitating professional development for district teachers and families. Her workshops are always highly sought after by staff. She supports teachers through job-embedded professional development by co-planning lessons, modeling lessons, and reflecting on best practices. Ms. Gribben also facilitates professional development for teams of teachers through coaching cycles in which teachers visit each other's classrooms to share and reflect upon instructional practices. She may have just done this week. With Ms. Gribben's support of our teachers, our students consistently experience rich literacy lessons in their classrooms. Ms. Gribben excels in her current role as a literacy coach. She is indeed a literacy leader in the district, and she shares her wealth of knowledge with teachers through her coaching and professional development experiences. Ms. Gribben inspires teachers to continuously learn and grow as educators to ensure students are receiving the best possible education. Join me in congratulating Jordan Gribben as an exemplary educator. And now I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Jocelyn Dumares from Nettingham Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to speak about 2 incredible educators at Nettingham. I'd first like to welcome up Mrs. Sue Zizera. So I didn't know where you were sitting. I didn't know where you were sitting. Yeah. Sue Zizera is one of our 6th grade language arts teachers on Team Navigator now, formerly Team A, and she teaches our 6th graders language arts and is an incredible team member. She has a passion for reading, and this goes way above and beyond to foster a lifelong love of books and literacy in her students. She consistently meets students where they are and where they are as learners in order to support them as they grow and to help them soar to new heights they didn't realize were possible. And in speaking with a number of her students, they talk about not only the fact that they love books more, but that Mrs. Zizera teaches them real life lessons, is what they say all the time. Her influence also transcends the walls of her classroom to impact the school community. She serves as the chair of our Intervention and Referral Services Committee and as one of our 8th grade peer and leadership advisors, 2 very important roles at Nettingham. A close colleague described her as, quote, a wise leader, a trusted advisor, an incredible resource, a willing helper, and a valued friend. We are lucky to have Mrs. Azera at Nettingham and look forward to many wonderful years to come. Congratulations. And now I'd like to welcome up Mrs. Nancy Vicari. Mrs. Nancy Vicari is our Educational Support Specialist of the Year, and she is one of our incredibly dedicated instructional aides. For the past 4 years, Mrs. Vicari has worked in a one-on-one capacity with one student who has made a tremendous amount of progress due to her unwavering support. And it's unusual that we would keep a pair together for so long, but again, due to the progress the student has made, we felt it was imperative that Nancy remain with this student. Her calm demeanor and positive reinforcement eases any situation, no matter how stressful. She demonstrates endless patience and kindness with her varied skill set. And we often say that one of the biggest things is that you never want to match energies with students who are having a tough day. And Nancy is so good about being like, it's okay. We're just going to take a walk and talk about it. And she is just amazing to see work with her student. She is respected and valued by everyone at Nettingham and in the community, and we thank her for her many years of service to our students. Congratulations. I almost pulled a Bortnick. All right, now I'd like to welcome Dr. Holloway.
So congratulations to all the recipients this evening. It's my pleasure to recognize 2 of Terrell's amazing staff members, and the first is Mr. Trey Shore. So Trey, we've had many conversations about your superstardom. You accomplish and achieve what so many would dare not attempt. You take approximately 100 9 to 10-year-olds from recess and teach them music. So I didn't get a response to that, so I'm going to repeat it. They don't understand. They don't understand how big of a task that is. 100 9 to 10-year-olds at one time, in one group, and you teach them music. And teach them music you do, and you do that with care, compassion, and kindness. So I asked a few of your students what they had to say about Mr. Shore. They said he's funny, they said he cares about us, and they said he loves music. So each year, Trey, I get to observe you do a lot with those kids that come to you with very little, and then you get to have them perform so greatly each year. So Trey, I stand in awe, and I humbly bow to your superstardom. Thanks for being on our team and developing a generation of arts-minded youth. And now I get to recognize our Educational Services Professional of the Year, Miss Amanda Wolf. So Amanda, if I was given unlimited time to talk about you, that still wouldn't be enough time. Amanda, our roles at Terrell bring us together often, and sometimes very often. And each time our paths cross, I get to stand in awe at your superstardom. You are a superstar among counselors. You take the time to hear students, to be their advocate, and to encourage them along their adolescent journey. You are a strong collaborator with teachers and parents. Ralph and I are grateful to have you on our team. We achieve so much because you're with us. You are the portrait of what every school counselor should aspire to be. I asked a few of the students, your students on your caseload, what they had to say about you. They said that you're a good listener, One student said they love you, and then another student says she's always there. So Amanda, thank you for always being there for our students. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Scotch Plains High School Principal, Dr. Heisey.
All right, good evening, everyone. I would call, if I could have Randy Ketzner come up front and center. Mr. Ketzner. So Randy Ketzner is a member of our English Language Arts Department at Scotch Plains Family High School. He facilitates a number of classes: English 3 Advanced Placement, which is a college level course, Journalism 1, Journalism 2, and Public Speaking. He is also the co-advisor of our award-winning newspaper, The Panscotian. Mr. Ketzner creates a rigorous but caring environment in his classroom. As the co-advisor of The Panscotian, he provides the students with an authentic experience of running a newspaper. It's like running a small corporation at the high school, on the second floor, right above the main office. All right? Randy Ketzner is also the advisor of our Saga Club, Sexuality and Gender Acceptance. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Ketzner as a member of our faculty. Congratulations to you.
So I will now read what's in those magic folders that everybody received. I know the suspense is killing everybody. So we'll start with the Exemplary Educator Award. Whereas this year's recipients of the 2022 New Jersey Exemplary Educator Award for Scotch Plains Family Public Schools are teachers that exhibit strong knowledge and skills, have an inspiring presence, and have a positive impact on students, colleagues, and school community. Whereas this year's recipients were identified as exemplary educators, and their educational accomplishments go beyond the classroom to provide models of excellence for their profession. And whereas this year's recipients are highly deserving of this honor, this year's recipients' contributions to education are largely unheralded, yet worthy of the spotlight. And whereas this year's recipients were nominated by administrators for demonstrating leadership and strong long-range potential for innovation, both within and outside of the school setting. Whereas this year's 2022 Exemplary Educator Award recipients are Kristen Cicchini, Jordan Gribben, Samantha Melworm. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education recognizes and commends this year's recipients for being honored as the Scotch Plains Fanwood School District 2022 Exemplary Educators and extends their best wishes for continued success. And now the Governor's Educator of the Year Award. Whereas this year's recipients of the 2022-2023 Governor's Educator of the Year Award for the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools are teachers and educational service professionals. And whereas this year's recipients are highly skilled and dedicated in their areas of expertise and go above and beyond in their service to their students. Whereas this year's recipients are highly deserving of this honor, this year's recipients provide encouragement, support, and guidance to students and staff alike throughout the district. Whereas this year's recipients have been nominated by a panel of their peers and community members for demonstrating leadership and innovation both within and outside of the school setting. Whereas this year's Governor Educator of the Year recipients are Samantha Strulowitz, Tara Tenza, Jennifer Liang, Javier Rodriguez, Jamie Sosha, Carrie Mullaney, Amanda Marchica, Sandra Rio, Ellen Young, Stacy Rayner, Susan Zazara, Nancy Vicari, Trey Shore, Amanda Wolf, and Randy Ketzner. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education recognizes and commends this year's recipients for being honored as the Scotch Plains Fanwood School District's recipients of the 2022-2023 Governor Educator of the Year Award and extends their best wishes for continued success. And to make it official, I just need a motion to approve these resolutions.
So moved.
Amy Winkler, and a second?
Second.
Tanya Williams. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I will now ask that all of the principals and award recipients please come up for a picture. Everyone else, please feel free to grab a cookie. We will be adjourning to the main boardroom shortly. Okay, welcome everybody. We already had our public kickoff in the recognition session earlier, so we're going to move down through the agenda. We'll remove one item that was not covered
President Suki Oakland was unable to be here tonight due to a family obligation, but she sends her warmest regards to all of you. Our PTA Council is a group of parent volunteer representatives who serve as leaders of their respective school PTA chapters. As a council, we collaborate with one another, devoted to the educational success of children and the promotion of family engagement in schools. For those of you who may not know, January is New Jersey School Board Appreciation Month. This is a time to not only raise public awareness of the roles and responsibilities of the local boards of education, but to thank them for the countless hours and energy that they give as volunteers. In total, New Jersey school boards oversee 580 school districts, which in turn operate 2,500 public schools and provide educational services to nearly 1.4 million children. The school boards set the policies for our schools, and they make important decisions affecting curriculum, financing, and staffing. In 2010, our PTA Council created the tradition of honoring the Board of Education for their dedication in serving the community and the vital contributions you provide to the education of our children. Your efforts truly make a difference in the lives of all of the students. As a small token of our appreciation for all that you do, and we're so grateful, we would like to express our gratitude with some little gift cards that Stephanie has from local businesses in Scotts Plains and Finland. On behalf of the PTA Council, thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everyone, all the PTA council members, for everything you do for the students and parents of this district. It's very much appreciated, so thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
Now, thanks for coming out, Janelle, and thank you for representing PTA Council and all the PTAs in this district. Thank you for honoring us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on. So for those of you who don't know, the district lost a young student earlier in the month, and we wanted to have a moment of silence for Carrington Reynolds. So if everybody could just take a moment to remember Carrington. Okay. Next on the agenda, the executive session report. So in executive session, prior to the public session, we went through personnel report, the HIB report, suspension and detention report, and the legal status report. I'm going to now pass over to Dr. Mast for the superintendent's report.
So at this evening's meeting, we have an instructional update with some exciting work that has been happening in curriculum, so we're looking forward to that. And also, I am aware that we've received a lot of communications regarding our partnership with the Y. So I just would like to just acknowledge that we appreciate that you've made the effort to reach out and to really express how important the Y is to you. It has been an important community partner for us as well. And you know, when making the decision, it wasn't a decision against the Y, it was a decision for our students. It was a student-based decision. But I know as that goes forward, we'll be discussing it more.
Absolutely not.
This is not public comment. The way this works is you listened to the way the order goes. If you're not going to listen, you're going to be removed. Please listen. The superintendent's speaking. There's a portion of public comment. There's a portion of public comment. When we get to that portion of public comment, the public may come up and speak. If you do not wish to follow those rules, you will be asked to leave. This is not a question and answer period. Thank you. Dr. Mast, you may continue.
That's the end of my report for now.
Okay, good. Thank you. Business Administrator report.
Yeah, I just want to announce that starting with our next meeting, we're going to start live streaming the board meetings, so we'll be able to find that on our YouTube page. Yeah. So we have 2 cameras here tonight. We're testing and going through, and hopefully we'll roll out next week. I just want to speak briefly. I know we have a lot of people who want to talk tonight, but on our budget. So that's coming up in the next few months. But I think you've heard from many municipalities, the local municipality here, that the stresses we have on the budget due to, of course, inflation, but healthcare costs. Healthcare costs are going higher than we've had historically. We just got an initial estimate for our insurance company, and we're looking at an 18% increase in healthcare costs, which equates to almost about $2 million, which is very, very significant, almost 2% of our total budget. So it's going to be a tough budget, but we're looking at different options to try to mitigate as much as possible. But I just wanted to let everybody know that that is one of the big stressors we have this year.
Thank you, Christopher. Board President's announcement. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law has enacted to ensure the right to the public to have advance notice of and intend to attend meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published and having the date, time, and place therefore posted at the Board of Education office located at 512 Cedar Street, Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Such notice was also provided in written notice forwarded to the Union County Hawk, Star Ledger, Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, the Borough Clerk of Fanwood, and a revised annual notice of regulatory scheduled meetings as adopted April 28th, 2022. So now we're going to pass over to our student board representative, Jada, for her report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to do a quick report tonight about the seniors, and then, but before I do a report, I'd like to introduce our junior rep, Syra.
Hi, my name is Sariano. Thank you for...
Awesome. Okay, so back for the college course and how seniors are feeling, everything's going. So early action, a lot of early action results started to come out in December, but we're getting more of them coming out right now, and some seniors are still kind of making their decisions. When it comes to early action, regular decisions will be coming out more towards March, April area, and then the first semester at the high school is ending, and this is very important for both junior and senior grades. So that's my update on college advisory and how those are going. Sports, girls basketball, varsity basketball won their senior night. The only senior on the girls varsity basketball is Allie Murphy. And then Anthony Titanegro is an athlete I would like to recognize tonight, as he, the week of January 11th, scored 100 points throughout his varsity hockey career with Scotch Plains High School. And then Saturday, or this weekend's sports games, there's a girls varsity basketball at 12 p.m. at Union Catholic, and a boys varsity basketball game, also at Union Catholic, but at 3 p.m. And that's what we have for today.
Jada, could you please repeat the name of the person who scored the 100 points?
Anthony Titanegro, he's a senior.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jada, for the update. We're going to move to, we have an instructional update. So, sense of belonging study, Dr. Holloway and Dr. Bortnick. If you can please come up.
So tonight's presentation by Dr. Bortnick and Dr. Holloway, while titled Sense of Belonging, could have been subtitled with homage to the title of a popular book as follows: The SPF Strategic Plan, Oh, the Places You'll Go. Tonight you'll hear how efforts inspired by the diversity, equity, and inclusion goal of our strategic plan have taken us to Chicago by way of the Gates Foundation to partner with a team of researchers as we seek to understand our current reality here in SPF and develop strategies that will, as the objective within our strategic plan reads, increase opportunities for students of color and other marginalized groups in all curricular and programmatic areas. It is indeed a privilege to introduce our colleagues, Dr. Scott Bornick and Dr. Kevin Holloway, to tell us more about this journey.
Thank you. The journey should start as soon as the projector is ready. Yeah, I think I turned it on. I'm going to find out in a hot second. Just going to get a little darker. presentation. So good evening, everybody. Thanks for giving us a few minutes to talk about our journey thus far. I think what you'll hear tonight is that we are at the beginning of what should be a really fruitful and interesting journey for our entire district. What started over lunch in the summer between Dr. Holloway and I has really blossomed into a really incredible opportunity for our district in terms of professional learning and work with our students. So for those of you that may not be aware, our district's involved with a group that's referred to as the New Jersey Network of Superintendents. That's a 30, 40 different districts that get together. Their work is primarily focused on equity work in each of their schools, and they become a group of critical friends. So it's a setting where you can go and discuss problems of practice, talk about your theory of action, of how you address those problems of practice, and then get support from other districts and feedback. And again, this idea of critical friends, probing questions, clarifying questions to really help you focus your work that you're doing in your district. So last spring-ish, I had sent Dr. Mass an article that looked at equity core teams, the idea of gathering your resources and trying to focus your equity work in your district. And we began talking about the idea of maybe doing that type of work coming through strategic planning, which was coming up, and Dr. Holloway, who in addition to being a good colleague, is a good friend, began talking about this kind of equity core team work. Our original thinking was to pull together groups of teachers to begin thinking about where we were seeing issues in equity, in particular at our two schools, because that was going to be manageable numbers for us to work with, smaller groups of teachers, smaller groups of students. We could really look at a fine grain level with small groups, and then use that data to maybe go to scale in the district. So what started through a conversation in the summer about what we were noticing at Terrell with regards to enrollment in honors mathematics classes led us to thinking about, by the time kids are selecting honors classes or being recommended for honors classes, they have a math identity that's still in evolution, but it's not just created there. Their math identity starts in 3rd and 4th grade and even earlier. So we began thinking about, why aren't the kids making these decisions? We could look at the numbers and see that the numbers in our honors classes aren't representative of our district demographics, but those numbers don't tell the whole story. They don't tell what kids are thinking and feeling part of the story, which is oftentimes the most interesting data to get to. So we're going to take you on a little journey through our district's demographics. We'll look a little bit at our enrollment numbers in honors math, some key terms that we're using in our study, what process we use, how we got involved with the nonpartisan and objective research organization at the University of Chicago. It's a mouthful. And where we hope this work's going to take us over the course of the remainder of this year and beyond. All right, I'll keep going. All right, you know me, I can talk. All right, so this is, I've been in the district for my son's 16, so 16 years. Our numbers, they wobble a little bit around these data points, but, historically, these are kind of what we're looking at in terms of our student population and the makeup of our sending districts. What you would hope to see then is equal representation and similar breakdowns in courses that students are taking. So our work thinking about 4th graders and then what happens to kids over time and they're thinking about themselves as mathematicians, we started looking at two areas on the report card in particular, operations and algebraic thinking and mathematical practices.
So we have here student data on 17th fiscal year 21-22. The 4th grade, 5th grade report card is a standards-based report card. So students at the level 1 are performing below grade level, and students at level 4 are exceeding. And so the numbers you see here, though, are for the final trimester. So this is the culmination of their progress over the course of the year. So this is the final trimester for each of the years in the year. So the numbers also include all of the fourth graders in a given year across the district. And so we looked at the data for our middle schoolers. And this data is seventh graders enrolled in honors math for each of the years indicated. The column indicated total includes students from both Nettingham and Terrell. And then we disaggregated the numbers based on how students are reported ethnically. And so you see the numerical breakdown of that. And then we looked at the same enrollment in honors math in 8th grade. Same setup. Total would be the total number of 8th graders enrolled in both middle schools. And then again, we disaggregated the data, the numbers by ethnicity.
So these numbers, they clearly tell a story, but they tell a story about lack of representation. What they don't tell a story about is why. And for Dr. Holloway and I, as qualitative researchers, what people are thinking and feeling is usually the most interesting thing for us, because from there you can really begin to change your practices to address how people are thinking and feeling. So we're really interested in the why of these numbers, and just by themselves, they don't tell the complete story. So the next slide looks at, our students in Scotch Plains and Fanwood are taking algebra in 8th grade, and this is a look at who are the students that are retaking it from not having success in 9th grade. So if you put the slides next to one another, you would see kind of a disproportion of fewer students of color in the honors classes and greater numbers retaking grade 9 math. And again, that's not the representation that you want to see in these classes. So again, it comes down to what's leading to this, what's the cause of this, how are kids thinking and feeling about themselves as mathematicians, how do they think their teachers feel about them as mathematicians, how do their parents feel about them as mathematicians, how do those things influence the math identity of students. So part of the work that we do with the New Jersey Network of Superintendents, again, focuses us to really put your problem of practice in a specific formula. It's researched by Doug Elmore, and it looks into a problem of practice. So this is, the problem of practice that Dr. Holloway and I were grappling with to better understand the internal and external factors that could influence math achievement, course selection, and ideally to help address achievement gaps. We'd like to study the relationship that we see between the sense of belonging in math classes through different factors. How do you feel in that room? Do you look around the room and say, I'm not seeing a lot of people that look like me. This may not be a place I want to be. Is this a supportive environment of all students? What's the level of enjoyment that students have in mathematics? There's a really interesting book that looks at letters that students have written to math as a concept. It's a writing prompt, and kids start off with Dear Math, and they write about their feelings towards math. And so, you see things in those letters of I used to love math, and then that multiplication hit, and now I don't love it anymore. Why did you do this to me, math? So, how kids enjoy math, which then taps into how we're teaching math, their math identity and beliefs about themselves, about the value of mathematics in their lives, support from parents and family around them with regards to math learning. You don't have to raise your hands if you've ever said this before, but I'm sure some of you in the room have said, I'm not a math person. That has an impact on what kids value in mathematics. I've never heard someone say, I'm just not a reader, but I have heard people say, oh, I'm not the math person. And that has an influence on what kids think about math, certainly. So from that purpose, we looked at this lack of diversity and representation and how we could increase numbers of students in honors while also reducing numbers that are retaking algebra. So if you want to talk about belonging.
So one of the things that Scott and I were just fleshing out the idea was this sense of belonging. And so we needed to come up with a definition, a working definition for this work that would guide us with regard to belonging. And so using the research and in our conversations with the teachers that we met with the one time that were part of our team, this was the working definition that we came up with for this work, which centers around mathematics. And so it's students' feelings and a belief regarding the reciprocal relationship with the classroom community, this mutual respect, this feeling of do I belong, am I a contributing member of this classroom, and those perceptions about their aptitude in math. Does their ethnicity play a part in how they perceive themselves in the math classroom, their gender, their identity, their age, etc.? What do those factors have on how they feel whether or not they belong in that setting?
Sure. So in our original thinking, we want to find out from students their sense of belonging in mathematics, and then use the theoretical framework of culturally relevant pedagogy as a way of supporting the diversity of students that we have in our schools, not currently represented in all of our honors mathematics classes. So again, we go to the literature, we're researchers, it's kind of what we do, and we start, working through these theoretical frameworks and different ideas of how to develop a sense of belonging for all students in the classroom. So we're looking at an idea of culturally relevant pedagogy, being how we work with young children in mathematics, as an instruction that has high expectations for all students, supports students' cultural identities. I think supports we could probably exchange with the word sustains. Their cultural identity shouldn't be things that you leave at the schoolhouse door. They should be things that are incorporated into your experiences, and affords opportunities for students to critique both inequalities, the lack of equality that exists, as well as inequities, the lack of equality that exists due to a system that might have some inherent flaws in it. So again, back to the network work, they asked us to come up with a theory of action. It's a really grand if-then statement. So we're looking at if we collect student voices relative to their sense of belonging in mathematics, inclusive of their thoughts on the environment, those 4 factors that we mentioned earlier, if we convene focus groups of students to delve deeper, so our first layer would be surveying students to get their sense of in those 4 areas. From that, pulling focus groups to kind of really hone in on specific students and specific groups of students, and then use that data to develop professional development around culturally relevant mathematics practices. Then we would expect and hope, being the optimist that Dr. Holloway and I are, that we'd have higher level of math classes being more representative of the district's demographics, increased number of students that have this belief in their abilities in mathematics, and a mindset that's more growth-oriented in math, fewer students repeating Algebra 1, and increased numbers of students taking higher-level math courses. Something that we didn't say initially is that Algebra 1 is a really important feature for us here in the district in 8th grade, because it allows students to progress through the mathematics curriculum and achieve access into calculus. And calculus is a really interesting place to look at, because the more children that take calculus, the greater their career earnings are later in life. Not necessarily because they become mathematicians, but because they get exposed to the thinking, the questioning, the rigor of the coursework that's involved in calculus. So a really big push for addressing inequities is to make sure that everybody's taking algebra so that everybody has access to those courses later in life. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. You want to talk about the folks at Morgan?
So sometimes you just get lucky, and in this case, is what happened for Scott and I. So we met with a team of teachers in the fall, and we were going to create a survey to put together to ascertain kids' perceptions about their sense of belonging in math. When talking with Scott on the phone, he was referring back to some work that he did for his doctoral program, and this one group that we're going to talk about, was doing something similar to what we were hoping to do. So we reached out to them to see if they would let us have access to their survey so we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. And so not only did they grant us access to their survey, They also invite us to be a part of their work. And the great part about collaborating with them is that all the data analysis that we need done will be done through York, who is working with the University of Chicago. And so York will then create reports for us that will be user-friendly, but the reports will be prepared by professionals through a research institution. So York is collaborating currently with the Gates Foundation, and they're looking at the very same concept that Scott and I wanted to explore, this sense of belonging in math and kids' perceptions about can they do the math and why they may not pursue higher levels of math. And they're doing this study across the United States this year. So our students, grades 4 through 10, will take a survey in late February, early March regarding their perceptions about themselves as mathematicians.
So what started as we're going to do this in 4th grade at Brunner with like 86 kids, and maybe 8th grade at Terrell with a couple of hundred kids, due to the generosity of the folks at University of Chicago and their funding from the Gates Foundation, we can now survey all kids between the ages of 10 and 16 in the district, and have the research scientists crunch those numbers for us, prepare reports for us, and that'll guide our work that we do in professional development with the teachers. It also allows some of our students to be part of a student panel with the researchers to help them troubleshoot the survey, and also involves our math supervisors, Sarah Cayley and Kate Rosander, as part of the University of Chicago and Newark's expert panel on this work. So Kate and Sarah are going to be very influential, not only in the survey and this national study, but of course in our work here with teachers. I think the other thing that's really worth pointing out is like we started with math, but you could just go back to the beginning of this and say sense of belonging in language arts, and have a very similar study, and social studies and science as well. So we do see applications beyond mathematics, and look forward to working with all of our supervisors, and Dr. Gary certainly, to push these ideas into other curriculum as well. Timeline, we, like Kevin said, start in February and kind of go from there. It's our hope that next year we have the data to be able to work on professional development, and then continue our partnership with Newark and the University of Chicago as they expand their work. And the presentation will be up on the website, so if anybody's interested in looking at the Newark Executive Summary from their field testing of 14 through 16-year-olds, and that survey, that's available, as well as their teen mindset survey itself, the actual tool that we've been using. And they also have results from their parent survey, which is also part of our work that they're supporting us with, is surveying our parents. And our references and any questions that anybody might have. Thank you for your patience.
Stay there.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a comment I'd like to make. I kind of just wanted to thank both Dr. Burnett and Dr. Holloway for putting such a focus on mathematics education throughout our district. I personally was the person who said I'm not a math person a lot, and I think the focus on the culmination of 10 through 16 math education is very important, because if we can start these students at an early age and really make them more comfortable throughout their middle school years, I think it really can make a difference in the amount of people we see in advanced classes in the high school, and I think that it's very important for not only college transcript, but just overall confidence in math when you're moving through life and other classes as well.
Absolutely. The power of student voice, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could someone turn the lights back on, please?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say that I'm really looking forward to the progression of this study and how it progresses over time. It's such important work, so thank you.
Yes, thank you both for all the work you've done in your free time to put this together. It's quite extensive, and we are looking forward definitely to the results.
Wait till public comment. No.
Public comment?
You have to wait till public comment.
Yeah. Yeah, public comment. That, you can ask the question during the public comment section, which is coming up next. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much.
If she's got a question for that, I can't.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Before we get into public comment, I do have a statement that I am planning to make, and followed up by our board attorney is also going to be providing an update, correct?
Yes.
And then we will move into the public comment. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight's meeting and for your communications pertaining to the YMCA. To begin discussions surrounding the continuation of this provider have been an ongoing conversation as long as I've been on the board. Over the past 12 to 15 months, the district has continued to work with the YMCA leadership on their programming to address the concerns that have been shared by the parents. As part of our strategic planning process, goal number 4, objective 4, was to review the options for before and after care programs that are currently being offered. As a result, a committee was formed to identify the necessary steps in order to achieve the goals. One of the steps was to research what vendors and providers would be available to execute our need. Therefore, a request for proposal, also known as an RFP, was put together and sent out. It's important to note that we, as a board, do not get to pick whoever they want. We're required to pick the provider whose proposal scores higher. We can't just decide to stick with one provider over another unless we can show that one proposal is objectively better than the other based on the standards set forth in the legal RFP. Voting on potential vendors and providers is not a decision that is taken lightly, but made by comparing and evaluating many factors, which include, but not limited to, quality, availability, flexibility of services, and of course, cost. The board will continue to engage and evaluate all vendors, providers to ensure they are meeting their obligation and make proper adjustments to better service the entire Scotch Plains Fanwood School District. Mr. Silvestro?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll say you stole a little bit of my thunder because you covered a little bit of what I was going to say, but I just want to give both the board, and we have a lot of members of the public who I'm sure we all know why a lot of people here are to talk about tonight the before and after care contract, so I just want to kind of give everybody a crash course in a small sector of public contracting law. So I know my business administrator sitting to my left are very excited, and everybody else is going to be bored, but I'll try to make this quick. So when we're dealing with contracts of this size, the board really has two options. One is just traditional public bidding. This applies to most contracts for goods and services. This goes to, you put out a set of specifications and rules and conditions. You get responses. You have to give it to whoever gives you the best price for the district. That's it. That's option one. Because of the nature of before and after care contract, it's what's referred to legally as a concession contract. You do have this option of using what's called competitive contracting. It's very similar to bidding in that you have set standards, specifications, you receive, in this case, instead of bids, proposals, and they can be reviewed. The only difference between public bidding and competitive contracting is that you can consider more than just price. In this case, you had price, technical criteria, and management criteria. Now, these factors aren't just nebulous. These are still, while it's more than just a number, they do have to be and were set forth in the RFP that was published to let everyone know who is going to submit a proposal. This is what we're going to rank you on, so that everyone who submits a proposal knows ahead of time, this is what we basically have to show we're better than everybody else at doing. Once the RFP is published, anybody who is qualified can submit a proposal. Everything that they want to prove that they're the best at these criteria, they have to put in their proposal. The law does not allow negotiation of the proposals at all. Once the proposals are in, just like bids, they're opened. Unlike bids, rather than just looking at a number, they are ranked and scored based on the set criteria. Again, the criteria that everybody knows ahead of time. The proposals are opened, they're compared to each other and scored. The staff who score the proposals are required to prepare a report, which was done in this case, ranking them and showing which proposal ranked higher than the others. That report is then given to this Board of Education, and the Board of Education has essentially two options. You can award a contract to the highest ranked scoring proposal, or you can throw out all the proposals and abandon the project. I want to make clear what that is. If you decide not to offer before and after care services through the district, you're not legally required to provide them. The district can decide we're not going to. But as the board president just mentioned earlier, the board does not have the legal option to simply say, we're going to ignore this process required by law. We're going to ignore the people that have ranked higher in this open public process. We're just, for other reasons, going to choose someone else to do it instead. That would be a violation of state contracting law. So I just want to make that clear that the board does not have the authority to substitute someone on the agenda. The board can vote down the motion, but the effect of voting down the motion would be you don't then have a before and after care provider lined up. So I just want to kind of, again, crash course in public procurement law. Sometimes these presentations take all day. I charge a lot more for that, though. So thank you for the time, Mr. President.
Thank you. So I'm going to read quickly for those who have not attended a meeting recently. I'm going to read through the rules of the public session, and then we'll go from there. If we don't have enough time for everybody in this session, there is another public speaking session towards the end of the meeting. In accordance with Scotch Plains Family Public School Bylaws 01640165, this meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comment, maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speaker may address other matters. Speakers, state your name and the town in which you reside. Please note, boards use the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into question and answer sessions or a cross-examination between the public and the individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before the board will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or his or her designee. This is specifically from the New Jersey School Boards Association. So I will now open up public comment. If you have a public comment, please step up to the mic, state your full name and the town in which you reside. Once again, 3 minutes per speaker, 15 minutes total.
Hello, good evening. My name is Skylar Wolf. I reside in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. I am reading a letter that was actually written by my wife since she could not be here. Good evening, Board of Education members. My name is Emily Galati, and I'm sorry that I cannot be in attendance tonight. I am currently at home watching my 4-year-old daughter, a current preschooler, and my 6-year-old son, a first grader at Coles who attends the Y Aftercare program. I've lived in Scotch Plains for over 10 years. I pay my taxes and I vote. I'd like to thank my husband, Skylar, me, for reading the letter in my absence. I am in fierce and staunch opposition to the board's recommendation to switch from utilizing the SPF YMCA, a nonprofit entity that has been providing child care services for 35 years in the SPF community, to a for-profit, unknown, nationwide provider with no history in Scotch Plains. I grew up a proud member of my local community center in Connecticut. I attended aftercare from 1st to 6th grade and summer camp every year. When I was old enough, I volunteered. My community shaped how I grew up and who I am today. When I applied for college, my mentor wrote a letter of me that I will still remember. Investing in Emily is like winning the lottery. My mentor's words undoubtedly helped get me into my dream school, MIT. It was not the only time I spent at the community center, but the commitment that the community center invested in me. After MIT, I was able to secure a spot in a top 10 engineering school, get a great job, move to New Jersey, where we are in Scotch Plains now with my husband. Putting a price on life lessons, college preparation, community enrichment, and the sense of belonging is truly impossible. As much as I'm sure if you've appreciated this trip down memory lane with me, I'm afraid this resolution is really about one thing: money. So let's discuss the facts. Number one, both the YMCA proposal and the Right at School proposal received the exact same score for cost. Number two, however, Right at School has guaranteed double the amount of money to the district based on revenue sharing. This makes me significantly question the motives of the board. This ignores the YMCA's proposal commitment to invest money back into the SPF community. Number three, Right at School received more points on the proposal for program services. This is based on unfounded data without accurate controls. How can the board accurately assess programs with a single site visit and a written proposal? As is true in politics, anyone can write or say anything, but the proof is in the pudding. The Y was blindsided with this news, and I do not believe the board has spoken with a single parent about the success of the Y's program. What are the plans for vacation days? Holding this at schools, kids sitting around in multi-purpose rooms. You're ignoring the massive investments the YMCA is currently making to outdoor space, pools, and activities to support our children. Number four, Right at School received more points by providing staff access to a behaviorist and inclusion specialist. Tools are only good if you use them, and based on the countless terrible reviews regarding Right at School, it's impossible to believe these specialists are making a difference. The Y makes an effort to employ local, passionate counselors who love our children. My son's aftercare teachers have not changed this year. He sees the same counselors when he attends vacation school days at the Y. My husband coaches basketball through the Y at Coles and talks with the staff about wanting to come back and teach in Scotch Plains. Number 5, and finally, the Palo Alto School District also considered Right at School for their aftercare program instead of a local nonprofit. After much outcry from the community, they reversed their decision. I've never said this before in my life, but Palo Alto was right. Let's follow their lead and stick with the Y. Don't mess with our children's futures. Thank you, and sincerely, us.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Perkins. I'm a resident of Scotch Plains. This is my daughter's first year as a student in the district, but we've lived in the district for about 13 years, and she attends Coles. So, very well done. That was very well put. A lot of the points that were mentioned here were things that I wrote an email to all of you last night on the board. I hope you had a chance to read it. If not, I encourage you to do so. I'm just going to go to the questions I have. As board members, it's a pretty thankless job. I've been in public education 21 years, taught for 17. I get it. It's a sacrifice. And now I do legitimately thank you. But I do want to ask you these questions before this is stamped and moved on. I know my daughter, the first day of school, was very apprehensive. She was coming from a place she had been for a very long time, and this young lady right here greeted her with the warmest smile the first day. And still does that every single day. She's always happy. She's always safe. She does projects. She's made friends. She's safe. She never has a complaint. That matters to me. I think that matters to parents. And I do think that when I looked at those cost proposals, and like you said, you know, quite often they do come down to the numbers. And I get it. You know, healthcare is going up. Mine went up. Everybody's goes up. But this is an investment in my child. This is an investment, you know, in our community as well. I've also worked in aftercare programs. I've kind of done it all in my career. So the questions I have, you know, you spoke of concerns from parents. I want to know if the people at the YMCA were made aware of these concerns. If they were, that's, you know, again, I don't know. It's my first year. But did they have an opportunity to address these concerns? Why the change? You know, if people are happy for the majority, why the change? Why now? Where is this extra money going to go to? Obviously, I saw the 3% versus 7%, the 30,000 versus 65,000. Big numbers, but is it going to go for infrastructure repair? Is it going to go towards other programs? Again, just questions I want to know if you have asked. Will a program based halfway across the country be able to effectively manage and handle issues that occur locally? You know, just another question. How are they going to hire? How are they going to vet their staff? Okay, extremely important to know those types of things, because when they're dealing with human lives, these are the things we need to know. If these employees are getting paid less, is the quality of service going to dip? Are people ultimately willing to sacrifice this quality that we're getting for a couple bucks? I know personally I'm not, and again, like I said, I'm in public education, so I don't make that much. You spoke about law. You know, we all know the caveat emptor idea. You know, you buyer beware, you often get what you pay for. So my hope is that before this is stamped and moved on, that everybody really does truly consider this. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Perkins.
Hi, my name is Anne Marie Barnes, and I live in Scotch Plains, and my son is a first grader at McGinn, and I also have a 4-year-old at the Y. Mr. Evan Murphy, you mentioned before that there was a vote to decide on this new RAS, and I'm curious who voted. Just you guys? Like, did anyone ever think about what the parents wanted? Did anyone ever think about what we wanted? No one ever thought about us. You guys just like slid this under the rug 2 days ago, just kind of putting it out online after the Y made us aware that this was happening. And I think that was really sly and not nice, because we are parents in this community and we deserve to know more than that.
Just a real quick point of context. There was no vote. Nobody voted
You
on anything.
mentioned that there was a vote.
excuse me.
Yeah, you mentioned there was a vote.
I'm just making a
When you
point. There
made your
was no
speech
vote.
before, you said there was a vote, and you guys voted for the RAS. So who voted for that? I want to know who voted, and why is this now up for contention? It's not even, because apparently you guys all voted for it. So why do you guys think that you're allowed to vote for our children's well-being? Why is that okay? The Y has been the part of the community for 35 years, and all of a sudden, because it's a cheaper cost, that's okay? I don't think that's okay. Don't you think the care is more important than the cost? I do. My children go to the Y. They have been at the Y for 6 years. I have loved the program. I love Mr. Danny. I love Miss Gabby. I love Mr. Ralph. I love the fact that they can go there and they can play with their friends and they can get help from their teachers and they can get their homework done and they can know who to talk to when they need help and they can do what they need to do and they can have a safe space when I'm at work. And I need to know that that exists for my children. I don't need some outside company coming in and being like, hey, hey, we could do a better option for you because we do operate at lower costs. Like, that's not my main objective in life. My main objective in life is taking care of my kids. And I do not appreciate what you guys are all doing. You tried to step in and be very sly about what you're doing, and I do not like it. And I prepared a big speech, and I'm sorry, I didn't even read it because I just went off, and that's it. My kids are my objective, and I do not appreciate what you guys did to us in the past 2 days. That is not fair, and we do not like it. That's why we are all here right now. And I also don't appreciate that you guys just delayed us being here. That's what we're here for. We've read reviews. We do not like this new system. We like the Y. Why can't we just stick with the Y? Has anyone ever heard, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it? I don't know. I mean, it's pretty common. I don't think it's a big deal. Why do we have to have a new system?
So I'll jump in here. Yeah.
Would you like to speak?
So just as a reminder, as the board president said, so it's not a question and answer period. It is a public comment period. You guys have your 3 minutes each per speaker to make your comments. But just I want to make it sure that if you do have a question, it is as the Mr. Perkins did. Feel free to ask your questions, but please understand that with your 3 minutes, there's not going to be a response, right? It's not an insult to you. It's just how the meeting works. It's a public comment period. So if you have a question, you expect a response. It's not going to be from the board here during your public comment period. So just so everybody's on the same page. Yeah. Thank you.
No, it's 3 minutes per speaker. It's 15 minutes in total. So if she only took up 2 minutes, then there's still time left.
So the board is aware, because I know I've been keeping time for quite a while.
Guys, rather than debate this, can we just have time for more speakers, please?
Can I just,
We're going to explain the process so everybody understands it.
And take up more time.
No, this is not part of that. This time does not get counted towards your time.
This time doesn't get counted towards your time.
This is what I'm trying to explain. Thank you, everybody. And I know, board, we haven't even had this conversation in a while. I know I've been keeping time for public comment for a number of years now. So as your timekeeper per your bylaws, you allow 3 minutes per speaker, 15 minutes total. So for the public, just so you know how it works, you come up to the mic, you say your name and your address as is required by the bylaws. I hit start on 3 minutes. If for whatever reason there's an interruption to your questions, if the board for whatever reason, although I've advised you before, Mr. Evans, try not to interrupt the speakers, that I do pause your time. If for something like this, I only total up for the 15 minutes actual public comment. So this is not taking away whatsoever from the 15 minutes of public comment. Just so everyone's on the same page, I have currently 8 minutes of public comment have been made because the prior two speakers did not use their full 3 minute time. That's all, just in terms of the process, that's how this board operates. So thank you.
Go ahead.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Julie Cornell. I'm a 12-year resident of Fanwood. My 7-year-old daughter is a first grader at McGinn, and we are second-year users of the YMCA aftercare program, and we've been members of the Y for the past 6 years, using their childcare, camp, gymnastics, and other recreational services. So my issues with this situation are the fact that this was not done transparently in terms of the decision being made. Optically, things look the way they look, and even if they aren't the way they look, if they still look the way they look, and they look pretty bad. They look like you're trying to pull the wool over our eyes and just slide this under the rug. That's not acceptable. Number two, we are the parents who pay for the majority of the costs for the aftercare program. We were not consulted. There should have been a public survey for all current users of aftercare and people who want to use before and aftercare about what they want in their aftercare program and whether or not they are satisfied. We are the primary payers of this service, and we were not consulted. Number three, this company is not a part of this community, and therefore I don't really trust them. I trust the why. I trust the faces that I see in this room of the people who have cared for my kids for years. And I think number four, one of the scoring things was about the company saying, oh, they're able to recruit more teachers. How are they going to be able to magically recruit more teachers when there's already a shortage of daycare and aftercare staff in this community and in this state? My daycare has gone through tremendous turnover in the pandemic. What makes you think this company can do it any better? And how are they paying real teachers seemingly less than the Y is paying high school and college students? How are they going to be able to recruit the best at such costs? And my last point is, who's to say that a for-profit company is not going to raise their rates on us, the parents, and then provide less money back to you as a district in year 2 or 3? Has anyone asked what those long-term cost outlooks are? Because you might want to ask that, because otherwise we and you might be on the hook for something we really don't want in year 2. And I think a question that I would like to log, considering that this proposal, the scoring of it is now in law, is who scored the proposals? If it wasn't you guys, who was it? And who are those people? And what do they stand to take advantage of or not? Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Yuri Bortnik, like the presenter. First time in my life I saw somebody else with my last name. Couldn't stop staring. So, two things I want to mention right off the bat. I know there's a petition, at the very least, to delay the vote, right? 400 names, right? So, I mean, if you're going to listen to the people, that's where you start. By the way, if I ask a question, I know it's rhetorical. Don't answer. You don't have to, I know. So, I actually don't agree with that. Even though I signed the petition, I don't think it should be delayed. I think this complete clown show could end right here, right? Like, it could end, right? I also know for a fact that the bids can be redone with different criteria, right? They can be redone with different criteria in mind. And the one criteria that nobody took into account is the human element. It's not $20 a month, there's a human element. These are kids involved, we care. And look, a lot of people will go out and say, I've been here for X amount of years. I moved to Scotch Plains in 2020. This is not in my backyard. I don't have an emotional attachment to it. My daughter does. I left the sobbing kid at home, telling her I'll do my best, right? Instead of reading her a book at night. You know why? Because I take that into account. I know you're all trying your best here, but something off happened. Something really weird happened here, right? You don't have to be strangers. We get email blasts all the time. Why we didn't get it this time around, kind of bizarre, right? So the whole thing just does not seem right. And look, I'm not saying there was malice here. But there are a lot of people who are okay with paying more per month because it makes their families happy. You understand? You can't just replace this place with Walmart or McDonald's, right? That's exactly what you're doing here. It's the McDonaldization of our kids' care. You're not going to get quality. So, one more thing that I'm going to say is, I don't know if you had to look at the reviews by now. You had to have. I mean, it is comically bad, some of them. Bullying, harassment, physical assault in a lot of these places. If you look at individual establishments within Illinois, I mean, if you did 5 minutes of research, you'd say, oh my God, how could we expose our kids to this? I mean, does anybody have a kid in aftercare? Because if you did, you'd feel so differently about this. You definitely would. Thank you.
We doing on time? We have time for one more, Mr. President.
I'm Ashley DeAngelo. I'm in Scotch Plains. My son, it's his second year in the YMCA, and my son has ADHD. So is this new program going to be able to help him out? Because this girl right here is the reason why my son's so good at. Come on. My son is very hard. I'm a single parent. His father walked out. If I lose his YMCA, I can't work. Okay, I do everything for my son. And this aftercare saved my life. And this is why I have a good job and good pay. If you guys want more money, then send an email. I can't lose this to my son. My son is crying at home because he thinks he's not going to see these faces anymore. These faces is what makes him happy and what makes him good in that class. You guys are do you guys even have kids in YMCA? Do you understand what a single parent is? I don't think so. You guys send all these emails, everything else. Like, I can't. All the parents before me, your speech was amazing. The YMCA saved me. And if you guys take this away and give it to new people, are they going to be able to take care of our kids? Our kids are comfortable. Why are you going to take the kids out of the comfort zone? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Christine Chalier. I'm from Fanwood. I've been here 25 years. We talk a lot about community here in this town. That's why people come here, shop small, local dollars, go back to the community. But then when the board was faced with a choice, they appear to do the opposite. The YMCA has had a proven track record of not just being able to do the task at hand, which is take care of the children in the before and after care, but being a partner with 7th grade initiative, partnering with PTA scholarships for seniors at the high school. So many things that this outside company that is all about the bottom line for them is not going to do, because they're not going to care about this community, because they're not in this community. So I cannot for the life of me understand why we are going to a for-profit company that is not only not local, but they're not even in New Jersey. And I venture to say that a lot of the parents who last minute, with lives of their own, who we all should be home sitting on our couches, falling asleep right now, showed up, waited to have this conversation that we should have been having for a long time. Because again, we do get email blasts. Thank you.
Mr. President, that is our 15 minutes for this public session.
There's another public speaking portion at the end.
Anything different?
No. So we're going to move on to the committee report section. We have committee reports.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Siriani.
It's on the agenda, folks. If you have a copy of the agenda, it has the entire process. Right now, we're on page 3 of the agenda where it says committee reports in the middle of the page.
Okay. I have a curriculum committee report. The curriculum committee did meet last week. Dr. Holloway and Dr. Bortnick actually did part of my job tonight because they did present on the sense of belonging study to the curriculum committee, so I won't, recap that again because they came and did the entire presentation tonight. But it's a very exciting collaboration and research initiative that they're doing in our district. The second thing that we discussed at curriculum committee, and actually that item is board approval is being requested tonight to conduct the focus groups and have our teachers participate on the advisory panel for that. The second thing we discussed in curriculum committee is our wellness and counseling director, Ms. Iarusi, gave an update on the health proficiencies. The district at this point has completed 5 parent focus groups to get feedback from the parents about rolling out the curriculum. And Ms. Iarusi talked about the fact that the district's health department has been meeting to thoughtfully incorporate the parent focus group feedback. Middle and high school health teachers took a lead in creating draft proficiencies of the health lessons and will continue to solicit parent feedback on the drafts. The aim is to have the 9th and 12th grade units developed by the spring when those grades have health courses, and then to roll out 6th through 8th grade later. The district will then use the same process in developing the curriculum for K to 5th grade. The proficiencies and related lessons will be shared with the community, and health teachers will be invited to parent meetings to address any questions about the health curriculum. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for Ms. Sariani? Any other committee reports?
I have a report.
Ms. Williams?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The Facilities Committee met on January 9th. There were several agenda items. I'll summarize them now. Christopher and Nick provided us with a 2022-2023 building and grounds update. We discussed custodial, revamping the cleaning process. There's a green cleaning initiative and air quality, maintenance. There are equipment upgrades, a tire machine, a balancer, also a work order for processing and reporting, as well as preventative maintenance planning. And on our grounds, we'll have a beautification program, some capital projects, HVAC replacements, some minor projects. There's a long-range facilities plan. In maintenance reserve, there's a drawdown balance. Investigative projects, we talked about the burglar fire cameras, lockdown doors, the time and attendance system, as well as energy saving improvement plan, and a compliance report with enhanced support, purchasing, changing vendors to state contracts and co-ops. At this time, there's no action, and our next meeting will be on April 17th, 2023. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions? Any other committee reports?
I have a
Ms. Brody?
finance committee. We discussed an architect RFP, and then we discussed the process for interviewing, and there are 4 candidates. The administration will meet with them internally, with each one having more, with each one one more time before the board meets with them. We haven't determined a time yet for when we're gonna do that. There are board resolutions. There's a fence repair, received an insurance grant for about $17,000 for miscellaneous repairs to be done. The excess of $8,000 will be taken from the maintenance reserve. On the agenda also is PC sales. We have some more old, out-of-date PCs to sell. We have, added an additional $25,000 to the insurance investigator. Then that should cover any contingencies. And all our copiers are, the lease is up, so we are looking for a new lease agreement for the copiers. The budget, which was mentioned before, our current quote is at an increase of 18%, and they're still negotiating, and they're looking at other options, such as pooling with other districts or self-insured options. And the board docs program, we are using it tonight, but it'll be fully running in February. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brody. Any questions for Ms. Brody? Any other committee reports?
I have a committee report. Just want to report that there was a meeting for the high school field lights as required per the agreement. No major updates from that meeting.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Letters to the board. There was a significant amount of emails received by the board from the public and forwarded to the appropriate administrator. I am looking for a motion to adjourn to exec for legal advice, and then we will reconvene back in public.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we're going to adjourn. We'll be back to public.
Hold on. Yeah, we need do you have the closed session resolution? There needs to be a reading of a specific resolution to go into closed.
Yep, it's fine.
So, while Mr.
Explain
Jones, hold on a second. While members of the public, please. I'll just explain while Mr. Jones, the BA, is pulling up the resolution wording. What the board president just called for and received a motion from the board to do is to adjourn into executive session. The meeting's not over. The board is asked to go into executive session for the purpose of attorney-client confidential information so they can speak with me about legal matters. I didn't catch when the anticipated return time was. Do we have one?
I don't have one.
Okay.
But I would expect it would be
right, so the board is for now adjourning to closed session. The meeting is not over. The board will be going to closed session for the purposes of seeking legal advice, and then we will come back into public and continue with the rest of the agenda.
You guys can be in there for 2 hours?
So,
You have to explain it. Look, we're the public, and you have to explain it.
man, I'm just explaining what just happened in the meeting.
Do we need to vote to go to
Why don't you
exec?
just come
You
with
need a
us?
vote, yes.
Come with us.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Do you have it? Do you have it?
Okay, it's the regular standard.
All right, so the motion for executive session. Whereas the Board of Education must discuss subjects concerning attorney-client privilege, whereas the aforesaid subject is not appropriate to be discussed in a public meeting, and whereas the aforesaid subject is to be discussed with the exemptions which are permitted to be discussed and acted upon in private session pursuant to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Be it resolved, the aforesaid subject shall be discussed in private recess by the board and administrative staff, and information pertaining thereto will be made available to the public as soon as thereafter as possible, and once the reasons for non-disclosure no longer exist. So now, all in favor, is it?
The estimated time should be no more than 20 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. We are now back in public session. I am going to make a quick statement, and then I believe Dr. Mass wants to speak. I just want to clarify a couple of things that came up through the public comment, which I'm sure there'll be additional comments in public in the next session. But just to be clear, regardless of the decision that may or may not be made this evening regarding this resolution, there will still be an aftercare program in the schools, so before and after care. So I don't want people to think that there's going to be no programming. The program will exist. The provider is what we're talking about this evening. So Dr. Mast has a couple of things that she would like to say and clarify as well. So I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Mast, and then we're going to move through to the superintendent's report. Dr. Mast.
Thank you. Thank you. So in hearing some of your comments tonight and some of your communications that I've read, there's some misconceptions that I heard, and I just want to give our perspective. So over the past few years, there have been parents expressing concerns about the Y after-school program. They have complained about the cost and lack of access and wait lists and issues with quality. Our administrators, our building principals have raised persistent concerns about the Y program and the fact that it's sometimes the lack of structure really brings safety concerns forward. And that was part of the reason why it emerged in our strategic plan, which happened last year, that this was something that we were to look at. So we were to look at after-school programs. We have communicated with the Y about the challenges of the program and the plan to conduct an RFP. The RFP was communicated with the Y in July. And we reviewed the proposal carefully and proceeded with the presentation. Both companies brought a presentation forward, and the committee reviewed the qualities of those presentations and how those programs would meet the needs that were identified in the RFP. The SPF committee consisted of principal, teacher, our business administrator. It also had other district people, and those are the folks who voted on the RFP. But they're not only educators, they're familiar with the program, and in addition to that, they have kids too who have been utilizing after-school programs. The piece about the company not being of the town, the company does have roots in New Jersey. At this point, it is working with 10 districts. We talk to districts across the state, across the country. We did some site visits, and though I too saw the data that you're bringing forward that raises concerns, I also talked to districts that are utilizing the program and are very pleased with it. So the other piece to recognize is this program would be in our schools. You know, people who are working in our schools now would have the option to continue to work in the schools. And the recruitment for staffing isn't less pay. It's competitive pay. So I think those are the three main points. that.
Thank you, Dr. Mass. And we'll move over to superintendent's report. Go ahead.
So the other piece is that a communication will be going out with all of those details, but I could not communicate the specifics of these things.
Okay.
Ma'am, please.
So I couldn't communicate it until it was something that has gone through the approval process. So, but I will tomorrow. Okay. so-
Superintendent's report.
Thank you.
We did the superintendent's report?
Move the-
The movement, the board motions.
Okay, so thank you. For the superintendent's report, I move that the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the January 2023 monthly enrollment numbers. To S, move that the Board of Education approves the following out-of-district placement as listed. 3S, I move that the board approves the HIB cases that were discussed in exec session on December 15th. 4S, I move that the board approves the field trips as listed. 5S, I move that the Board of Education approves the memorandum of agreement with law enforcement officials regarding security operations. And 6S, I move that the Board of Education approves the proposed 23-24 10-month school calendar.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Oh, roll call, sorry. Roll call, Christopher. Winkler and Brody.
Ms. Winkler?
Yes.
Ms. Brody?
Yes.
Ms. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Suriani?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Kolakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes. Motion carries. Personnel report. Dr. Mast.
For the personnel report, I move that the board approves all of the personnel items that we discussed in exec.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Yep. Roll call, please.
Who's the first?
Dr. Kulikowski and Mrs. Sariani.
Dr. Kolakowski?
Yes.
Ms. Suriani?
Yes.
Ms. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Ms. Brody?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes. Motion carries. Business report. Mr. Jones?
1 BUS is staff training, 2 BUS related service for special education students. Number 3 is research for a legal case. Number 4 is something we approve every year as part of our audit. Number 5 is a donation. Number 6 is our before-after care. Number 7 is fence repairs, funded mostly by a grant, and the rest will be coming from maintenance reserve. Number 8 and 9 are, we're part of New Jersey School Board's ACES program, which allows us to purchase our electric and gas at reduced prices. There's a resolution to approve that. Number 10 is disposing of books. Number 11 is our theater vendor. Number 12 is non-public fundings, part of a requirement by the state. Number 13 is disposal of old equipment. Number 14 is older computers that we will put up for public bid, approval for that bid, to put them out to bid. Number 15 is disposal of older equipment again. Number 16 is new radios for the school district, paid for by extraordinary aid. This was a project taken on by committee within the schools. This is a total revamp of how we manage our radios, which is security radios that you see throughout the district, and streamlining it so that everybody has consistent radios. Number 17 is fire drills. Number 18 is our bills list.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Dr.
Second.
Lukasy, seconded by Ms. Brody. Discussion? Does anybody have any comments or anything to discuss in any of these blocked business items?
I wanted to ask a clarifying question. As far as the after-school program, the Y could still offer after-school program if they're not approved tonight based on the bid proposal because of the numbers. If they could still offer an after-school program at the Y, like the JCC, is that true?
That's true.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No?
Do you want to point out the contract length? Contract length? Contract length?
Can't hear you.
So just to point out that this 6BUS for the before after care is a 1-year contract, and that if costs increase or they're not, they're not able to provide services, we will go out to bid again next year.
Rebid it now. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Yourselves, Dr. Mass, Christopher Jones, you should be ashamed of yourselves, and you just lied in front of a room full of your community, and that's embarrassing.
Mr. President, I believe we're at board policies.
Yep, board policies. Board policies, Mrs. Winkler?
I move that the board approve first reading of the following policies. Policy 2415.04, Title I District-wide.
Excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a public comment
This is
period.
a public meeting. It's not for everybody to just shout and scream. Please give, can you please give Mrs. Winkler attention? There's another public speaking portion coming up at the end of the meeting.
So then let us finish your meeting.
You had the option
Can I
to
adjourn?
avoid it. He said
Adjourn?
so. You had the option to avoid
Sir,
it.
so again, there's an option, as the
There's
board
an
president
option
said.
to avoid it and put it back out for RC. That's how contracts
Sir,
work.
please, if you can't control yourselves in the public meeting, you're going to be asked to leave. Please, follow the rules of the meeting.
You haven't followed your own rules.
Are we done?
It's terrible. No, answer my question.
Sir.
Sir, I'm not
I
responding.
asked you respectfully, can you please, we're not here for a debate.
I look forward to continuing.
Mrs. Winkler, can you please go through policies? Thank you.
Yes, the policy committee met on December 20th. We discussed several policies, including policy 2415.04, which is the district-wide parent and family engagement policy for Title I, as well as policy 2415.50, 2415.51, 2415.52, and 2415.53, because we need an individual policy for each of the schools that has a Title I program in it. The policy has been rewritten to reflect current requirements of the New Jersey Department of Education. The title is changing to reflect engagement rather than involvement, and there's a separate policy for each school. These are changes that were mandated. Also, policy 2417, student intervention and referral services. Recent changes to the New Jersey Administrative Code 6A 16-8.1 and 6A 16-8.2 necessitate minor revisions to this policy, which include incorporating references to response to invention and multi-tiered system of support in the first paragraph. Also, changes include adding that the child study team and other specialists in specific areas of disabilities may participate on intervention and referral services teams. These revisions reflect more clearly what Scotch Plains Fanwood is already doing, and these changes also are mandated. We also looked at policy 7410 and the corresponding regulation 7410.01 on maintenance and repair. The policy has been rewritten and the regulation was revised to reflect the State Board of Education relocating administrative code sections from 6A 26A to 6A 26. Most of the revisions are updated code citations, but the policy now includes the requirement for a school district to employ a certified educational facilities manager. The regulation provides the long-standing administrative code requirement for a detailed work order system in a district with 3 or more school buildings, and these changes also were mandated. Then we took a look at policy 7510.3, the athletic field light usage policy. We reviewed the policy and also the agreement that we have with the neighbors, and we are recommending adjusting the policy to align with the agreement. We also looked at policy 9320 and its corresponding regulation 9320, cooperation with law enforcement agencies. The policy and the regulation have been rewritten to align with the Administrative Code 6A 16-6.2. All school districts must annually review, revise when appropriate, and adopt a uniform state memorandum of agreement between education and law enforcement officials pursuant to the Administrative Code 6A 16-6.2 B 13 through 14. The policy and the regulation were rewritten to reflect the required code language and to incorporate the school district's memorandum of agreement by reference. This provides greater flexibility to address the memorandum of agreement annually without having to revise the policy and the regulations every year. This also ensures that as long as we annually review and adopt the MOA as required, the policy and the regulations will be up to date and accurate, and these changes are mandated. Our next meeting will be on January 23rd. At this time, I'd like to move that the board approve first reading of the following policies: P2415.04, Title I District-Wide Parent and Family Engagement; P2415.50, Brunner Elementary School Title I School Parent and Family Engagement; Policy 2415.51, Evergreen Elementary School Title I School Parent and Family Engagement; Policy 2415.52, School 1 Elementary School Title I School Parent and Family Engagement; Policy 2417, Student Intervention and Referral Services; Policy 2415.53, Nettingham Middle School Title I School Parent and Family Engagement; Policy 7410, Maintenance and Repair; and Policy 9320, Cooperation with Law Enforcement Agencies, as well as the revisions to Policy 7510.3, Athletic Field Light Usage.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Do we have a motion?
I made the motion.
Second? We have a second?
Second.
Discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New board business, any new board business? Other board business, any liaison reports?
I have a quick liaison report for the CPAG, Special Education Parent Advisory Group. They had their first parent caregiver meeting December 12th, and that would mean that admin or board representative wasn't with them at that meeting. So it was an opportunity for them to talk amongst themselves to share their feedback then with Dr. Ribibis and Dr. Mast. At the January CPAG meeting, which was held on June 9th, we featured a district parent expert speaker who presented on the topic of transition planning. In addition to these meetings, the high school liaisons met with high school parents on January 5th. The feedback from this session was also shared with Dr. Mast and Dr. Ribibis. Upcoming meetings will include a school liaison meeting in February and another closed parent caregiver meeting in March. Again, I would encourage everybody, if you visit Office of Special Services, there's a CPAG page, and you can find all information on the different liaisons and groups and contacts for you to get involved.
Thank you, Mrs. Boroff. Any comments or questions? Mrs. Bauer, you had a report?
Yes, the Garden State Coalition of Schools met yesterday. The Garden State Coalition of Schools is a large group of school districts across the state that we're members of and have been long-standing members of the trustee group. At the meeting, Dr. Beth Jamison, who is a nursing faculty member at Seton Hall, spoke. She is also the 2021 College of Nursing Researcher of the Year and a National Academy of Nursing Fellows. Her focus was on mental health, and she shared a lot of data about really focused on screenings and the kinds of screenings that are done in schools. And some screenings like eyes and ears are done in most schools across the country, but there are not a lot of mental health screenings and not actually even a lot of good tools around mental health. So there was a lot of data shared. It was a very informative meeting, and there were several of us attending. And for those in the audience, if you look up the Garden State Coalition of Schools, they have a lot of information about various bills that are pending, and some of those were also discussed at the meeting. So I won't go through those, but you can find them, and I know everyone on the board gets the news and notes and the buzz, so.
Thank you, Mrs. Barrow. Any questions, comments? Any other liaison reports?
Yes, I have a Union County School Boards Association report. The Union County School Boards Association met on the 18th. The subject of the meeting was perspectives on implementing comprehensive health and PE standards. It was given by Donna Reichman, who is the Assistant Superintendent in Wayne Township, and Dr. Alma Morrill, who is the Assistant Superintendent in Lyndhurst, and is also on the Hawthorne Board of Ed. They started by discussing the difference between the standards and the curriculum, that the standards are from the New Jersey Department of Education and are approved by the New Jersey State Board of Ed, and that they set the performance expectations, and that the curriculum is something that is a planned sequence of learning opportunities aligned with the standards but developed separately by each school district. They talked about that the standards were drawn from national and international models and research and other sources, that they went through several drafts and public comments, that all comments must be responded to by the Department of Education and were. Then they were adopted in June of 2020, but they delayed the implementation of it until this year because of the pandemic. They realized that school boards had a lot else going on, and so they delayed the implementation. But the standards are banded by grade level, K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12, and that districts have some leeway to decide where within that grade band they're going to include the specific standards. Then they talked a little bit about the process that Wayne used for rolling out their new curriculum. They talked a little bit about the process that Lyndhurst used for how they rolled theirs out. They talked a little bit about the opt-out option, which has been in place since 1979, and then they covered some basic Union County School Boards Association agenda items after that presentation. They talked about that this month is Board of Ed Recognition Month, and that they have materials on their website for that. They talked about reorganization resources that they also have on their website. They talked about a survey that they're sending out for board presidents, that they are going to have a president's corner question. I don't know, I'll send you the information.
Thank you.
They also mentioned that on January 27th, there will be a meeting at 7 p.m. Oh, I don't even know what that meeting was. And then in February, they will have new member orientation from the 3rd through the 5th, and they suggested that even seasoned board members might want to attend because it's a good refresher. And yeah, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Wicker. Any questions? Any other liaison reports? Request to attend workshops or workshop reports? Seeing none. Can we have a motion to adopt the Black History Month resolution for February?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Brody, Mrs. Suriani, any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 4 OBB. Motion to adopt the New Jersey School Board's month resolution for January. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Boroff, seconded. Mrs. Winkler, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes, executive session, and public meeting from December 15th?
So moved.
Mrs. Winkler,
Second.
seconded. Mrs. Siriani, any discussion? Abstentions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now in the last public speaking section. So in accordance with Scotch Plains Public School Bylaws 0164-165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comment, maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. Speakers, please state your full name and the town in which you reside. Please note, board uses the public comment period for an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer section as a cross-examination between the public and the individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought to the board meeting will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or his or her designee. So the public portion is now open for 15 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Leah Green. I live in Scotch Plains for about 9 years now, and I have a young child here, Elijah, who's behind me, 10:30 at night, who's a first grader at Brunner. I come to you twofold, two capacities. As a parent of a child here in the district who attends aftercare at Brunner, and he's a parent. He's a child with autism, and I'm so deeply appreciative of the staff there. Ms. Sarah's up here in the front. She does an amazing job with Elijah. Transitions is hard for him, and she really does a great job. The whole staff there does a wonderful job. But also come to you as a senior program director of school-age child care programs. I manage over 20 sites for the Metropolitan YMCA, the Oranges. And I know you say, oh, why, bias? But no, I do this work in child care. I'm doing it for more than 13 years now. And Dr. Mash, you mentioned some of the concerns that the parents had, that you read online, or parents have maybe reached out to you, but you didn't lead with safety and quality. You led with wait list, pricing, flexible options. Flexible options, the Y did that immediately, heard your concerns, they made the change immediately. Wait list. I don't know that the school this new program is going to do the same thing and provide more capacity. I didn't read that in the proposal. As someone who runs aftercare, it's not the provider that provides space. It's your schools that allow us to be in your spaces, to allow us to grow capacity. And so if we can't, you have the power to provide the Y in any aftercare program more space to be used. And I think it's a big misconception. A lot of the comments and concerns that you read online is around capacity. And that's not something that providers can fix. They work alongside the school districts and principals to assign more space. Lastly, because I do this is bells and whistles what they're telling you. They have the capacity, the money to give you a great proposal. It is hard. Childcare now is difficult to retain staff. They have staff that are here every day that come. Retaining staff is hard. And they're making promises that I don't think they're going to be able to meet. And the money is not all about the money. It's not about the money. These people here care so deeply about our children. And the Y is a leader in child safety. The Y is a proven track record in child safety. Our training practices are ongoing, and we do a great job. And I feel like you're making a huge mistake. And I really hope you guys think about this, because it's going to affect my baby here, but more kids to come.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Hi, my name is Audra Koplowitz. I have been here, I think, 14 years in Scotch Plains. I have a first grader and a fourth grader here at Evergreen. And I just wanted to talk a little bit differently than some of the people here who have been talking. I am a first grade teacher at a school in Middlesex County, and our school uses Right at School. And I can tell you, it is garbage. I've been in school. I've been in school for 83 days, and every 8 to 10 days, there is a new staff member that is coming to my door to pick up my students to bring them to aftercare. I have children upset. I have children crying. I have parents contacting me. Who do they talk to pull their child out because their child is coming home bleeding and bullied? They're not getting their homework done. I have seen the staff high as a kite. I have seen the staff drunk off their ass. I have seen the staff fall asleep, sitting in the corner, not show up. This is not the kind of staff that I would like my 6-year-old to be watched and looked after, okay? My older son will be in Nettingham next year, so he'll be fine by himself. It's my next year, he's gonna be in 2nd grade. That's who I'm here to talk about, and same with all of these people back here, okay? Really look at what you're getting. It's not about the cost, okay? I can find a cheap person to build my house, but guess what? The floor might fall apart. So cheaper isn't better. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kim Decker, and I live in Bridgewater, but I'm the CEO of the YMCA. I was told today, actually, and thank you to the staff. They have to be at work at 7:30 tomorrow morning, so to watch your kids. So thanks, you guys are rock stars. I was told today, actually, that the problem with nonprofits is we're too nice. And the person that told me this was actually, I don't know if you're familiar with New Jersey School Age Child Care Coalition. So she is the recently retired executive director, so she didn't really have a problem kind of holding back. So she called me, and she was on the phone with me for about 45 minutes. I've actually known her for over 35 years. I actually grew up in school-age childcare, and so she actually was one of my trainers, so I have deep respect for her. So I think today I have to tell you the truth, because I've always been, the Y is a partner, the Y is a community organization. We tried to partner with the school. I have always, since I've been here, met with the superintendent twice a year, talked about what the Y was doing, talked about any concerns, talked about opportunities, and I did the same thing when Dr. Mass started. So to say, they say, okay, we knew this 15 months ago. Well, there is a whole backstory about how they did this last year. They called me up and they said, it was April, I think it was March or April, or it was after we registered, and they said, we're gonna look for other providers. And I said, okay. Why? Well, there's been some concerns, and there's been some concerns, and it's been posted on Facebook. What are those concerns? Well, we don't look at Facebook, but you could find it on Facebook. Okay. I said, well, who are you going to be asking for proposals? Well, we get a lot of emails. Okay. Can we submit a proposal? Yes, you could submit a proposal. All right. To make a long story short, I said, you realize we already registered all these kids. What are you going to do with them? They said, well, this is what we're doing. It was in the strategic plan. This is what we're doing. Okay. We submit a proposal, make a long story short. They call us back. They said, we're going to stick with you. Why don't you put together a contract and we'll start conversations from there. Okay. So put together a proposal, didn't hear back from them, a contract, whatever. Then they call me back 6 weeks later. Sorry it took so long, but we realized we're in over our heads. We're just going to go out for formal bid next year. We'll let you know. Okay. So Monday after Thanksgiving, got an email, 4 o'clock. They let me know. Got the proposal on Tuesday. Any questions after this very large proposal? Any questions about the proposal? We would have had to ask 5 o'clock that day. 2 weeks to put it together, December 21st, meet with the committee, not any of the board members, superintendent, business administrator, assistant business administrator, facilities person, I don't want to run out of time, principal, school teacher. No one on the board. We present December 21st. I contact them 2 weeks later. Again, not making it public. I didn't want to panic any parents at the upheaval. They said, we'll let you know. 2 weeks after Christmas, I emailed and said, what's going on? They said the decision will be made January 19th. And is that my 3 minutes? I hope not.
That's okay. Keep going.
January 19th. The decision will be made January 19th. Christopher Jones will try to reach out to you a couple days before. I said, we need to let parents know because they're going to be blindsided. I tried to protect the school. I didn't want there to be an upheaval. I even told them I didn't want there to be a firestorm unnecessarily if we were going to be picked. I knew that we were giving 10%. We were very aggressive. We didn't want to lose the program. I make every opportunity to hear conversations. I've never heard anything said to me that we couldn't fix. Show me an email, show me something, because even Jean Cleary, when she talks to me, sends me an email, we respond and we work through it right away. We're partners. We're not perfect. We're not perfect, but we're willing to listen to make change. We reduced our fees because we didn't want to lose the program. I sat there last year and said, if it's revenue sharing you want, then let's have a discussion about it. Let's have a discussion about it. Revenue sharing to me is double taxing taxpayers, but that's not for me to decide. If you make a decision, if decisions are made regarding Facebook posts, you better open up Facebook today, yesterday, because if that's how you're going. So I tried to protect you guys 2 years ago in August. Another thing parents don't know, 3 weeks before school started, 3 weeks, they called me up and said, we're concerned about the pandemic. You can't have early morning care in the schools. You can't have aftercare in the schools. And I said, you realize we have over 400 kids in our after-school program. 400 kids. I said, the parents, you can't do this. I said, morning care, maybe they could manage. Aftercare, they can't do it. They hung up. They called me back in an hour and said, you're right. You need to reduce your numbers, but we'll do it.
Ma'am,
Right.
I just want to intercede. The board president did allow you to continue your time. You are now at 4.5 minutes. I do see a line of people that still
Okay,
want to
all right.
take their time.
One
behind
last thing. Just make sure you can look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and know that you were transparent, that you did the best for the community, and that you were fulfilling your role as board people.
Hello, my name is Pam O'Neill. I have been a resident of Scotch Plains for 25 years. I am a board member of the Y. You have made our job unbelievably difficult. If I could paint a picture of a board that is not concerned with the care of children of this community, this would be the Hollywood set that I would create. I'm so disappointed in this decision. I don't know if everyone realizes we are now taking money out of Scotch Plains. I'm a finance person. I testify as an expert in finance for a living. We are taking money out of Scotch Plains and giving it to a private equity firm in Chicago. But now I'm going to talk as a citizen, because I don't want to get too crazy as a member of the board. I am just outraged. The bid process and the criteria utilized to make this decision, completely unfair, completely not transparent. This was a sham process. There is no other word for it. You should be exposed for the sham that this was. The board deemed the two proposals were equal in terms of cost. The other two sets of criteria, technical and management, as set forth in the scorecard, are wholly subjective and clearly used to support a specific agenda. This agenda, this decision results in money going to a private equity firm out of our community. That money, when money is entrusted to the Y, we return it to the community. We provide other programs for the members of our community. A private equity firm is tasked with delivering profits to their investors. We seek no profits at the Y. We are a nonprofit. We are a charitable organization. We take whatever money we get from these programs and put them back into other programs that help other community members. You are now taking money out of our system and sending it to Chicago and sending it into the hands of the Board of Education, besides the property taxes we already pay. Our community is the owner of the YMCA, not a private equity fund. We seek no profits. We reinvest our funds in programs that help our community. The decision to transfer this contract to a for-profit organization has wide-ranging negative consequences to many community members, members well beyond the parents you see here and the children of this program, who no one seems to care about. I thought it fascinating that when we were given the math presentation, the two principals discussed how they counseled the students and how they talked to the students about how they felt about math. Did anyone talk to the students of this program? Talk to the parents? No. I am furious, absolutely furious. I haven't been this angry in 15 years. I don't get angry. I testify as an expert in court. I will make it my mission to educate everyone in this country to select their school board members carefully. I regret my vote. And by the way, this is not South River. You went and talked to people in South River. The people of this town pay more than twice the amount of property taxes than the people of South River.
Ms. O'Neill,
This might work.
That is your time. If you could just finish your thoughts, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
That might work in South River. It does not work here in Scotch Plains. We deserve better and we demand better.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill.
Hello, my name is Grace Kim. I live in Scotch Plains, and a quick Google search reveals District Policy number 6350 about competitive contracting states, the board will have the right to reject all proposals for any of the reasons set forth in NJSA 18A 18-22. So I went to that section of the law, and this is the New Jersey state statutes under education, rejection of bids. And subsection D says the Board of Education wants to substantially revise the specifications for the goods or services. So this board absolutely has the ability and power under the statute to substantially revise the specifications for the goods or services. In a sense, put out another RFP. And I think it would be amazing if this board could hear and respond to some of the comments that you hear tonight, you see online, and just give us an opportunity to provide some input going into this revised RFP so that we can feel heard, you can feel good that you responded to the needs of the community, and we can move forward in reestablishing trust. I know it's been a really, really hard time with the pandemic. It was very difficult as a parent, of course, very difficult as board members and educators. We're all trying to do the best for our children. And, you know, we had a rough start with communication, and I know that the board is really trying to improve that, and the district's trying to improve communication and effective communication. And I think this kind of response just shows you we need to really to improve in communication. Give us an opportunity to provide the feedback that you need to do the right thing by us and the children, of course.
Thank you, Ms. Kim.
Hello, my name is Jeff Petrella, and I'm a resident of Fanwood. I have a 5-year-old son who goes to McGinn, who's also part of the program. But just beyond this program too, it's also the other parts too, not just of aftercare, but also like, you know, the summer program that could probably also be affected, as well as, you know, other areas that the Y does such a great job with. And I really want to just talk to maybe a little bit the heart and your minds too, because, you know, as parents, you know, we're the voice of our kids, so we speak on their behalf, but you're the voice also of our kids too. And you guys but your voice is also a decision too. So when we also depend on you guys to make great decisions on behalf of our kids and in turn on behalf of other parents too. And I think when you're looking at this, you know, we all, you know, as humans, sometimes we make mistakes, and when we go to our jobs, we have bad days at our jobs. And it feels like you guys, maybe today, are having a bad day at the job. So I'm hoping that maybe tonight when we all like debrief, that you'll sit there and you'll think about it and be like, wow, I did a really bad day today at my job. And maybe tomorrow, because I know that you all are very successful, that you'll want to work that to make yourself be better as well. And this is a perfect example where you can be better, where you can actually listen to the parents, and you can actually, you know, make that a pretty strong decision. Because as you can see, we want to keep the Y. My kids, my daughter, who's 3, who hopefully will be a future Y candidate, because hopefully, you know, you guys will take in this consideration to actually make this work again. But like my 5-year-old son always says, like, he always talks about Mr. Danny. He like loves this guy. I don't know what. I have no idea. I can tell you this. It's also really nice too. Like, you know my name, and there's so many parents. You have to know all the parents' names. So you guys actually take the time to like talk to us, engage with us, which is important. So I don't want to go on the soapbox, but I really do hope that you guys will go home and really think about your decision and think about the big picture. It's macro. It's not just micro. We make micro decisions for our own families, but you guys are making a macro decision. This is going to impact all of us. So just please take it back. I think the decision's already been made, but let's, think about it again too, and let's just be better tomorrow, since today wasn't such a great day.
Mr. President, we have time for one last comment.
Hi, my name is Talib Morgan. I'm a resident of Scotch Plains. I have children in 6th grade at Terrell and in 1st grade at Coles. And I have to tell you that I appreciate you all being here. I want to preface this with I'm a board member of the Y, in addition to having kids in the school. I'm also a zoning board member. I know how hard it is to be here this late and how frustrating it has to be. It frustrates the heck out of me when we've been in meetings until midnight. Really annoying. So I want to keep my comments short. What stands out to me here is that not a single person spoke against the Y. And so you point to Facebook and the comments that you have gotten from people about things that the Y was doing wrong, yet those people didn't have the passion, didn't have the commitment, the care to show up here tonight like all of these people have to speak in favor of the Y. Think about what you're doing. Think about what that says to this community. Think about what it says about what you think of our children. To me, it says you don't care. That's what I see when I feel this, when I see this. And I want to say Dr. Mass has been a great help to me with my daughter. I know you care, Dr. Mass, but I'm not seeing it here. And I would like to see it. I would like to see from all of you that you care about this community, that you care about our children, and what the people in this community feel and what they're saying to you matters. And it's not just words going over your head because it's late at night, but that you care. And that's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, that is our 15 minutes.
I will be closing public portion of the meeting. Upcoming meeting is February 16th at 8 o'clock. Anything for the good of the order? Mrs. Siriani?
I just want to thank and commend the Las Cantadoras, the women's select choir who came and performed on their day off, bright and early in the morning at the town's MLK Day as part of the opening ceremonies. They did a tremendous job, and it was wonderful to see. And I also want to congratulate the Raiders swim team, who is going to counties on Sunday.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Do we have
We have blue artwork.
the new artwork, yes. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Good.